cons. We're going to go to combat. Citadel Siege will trigger. We'll put 2 counters on Rograkh.
Today on Commander Replay, we check out Akroma Rograkh and find out if Akroma can turn Rograkh into a lethal kobold. Next on Commander Replay.
Welcome back, everyone. Commander Legends Week continues. Today we're looking at Rograkh, Son of Rohgahh, and Akroma, Vision of Ixidor. I'm pretty excited about this. A lot of people have been asking me about this one. Rachel, friend of the channel, played this one on game nights pretty recently. This list is going to be a little bit different than hers. I went a little bit more Voltron than she went, but still trying to test out a lot of these lieutenant type cards that care about your commander being in play. So this is very much going to be a test version of this deck, not like a final thing. I cut a lot of the really powerful combos like Aggravated Assault and all that sort of stuff that you guys have seen me do a lot. So this is really just kind of testing the proof of concept and seeing if it'll work. So this hand, how do I feel about this hand? It's got lands, it's got creatures, just not much else. I guess we can try it. It could always be worse, right? Oh, that's a lot of red-black at this table. Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, yeah, also trying to test a lot of things in this deck. As we flash back real quick, Mystic Remora for our opponent on turn 1. Looks like we're going last. Awesome. Oh, mana crypt for opponent into the Mystic Remora. Oy. You know, that's just not what you hope for when you're going last in a hand with no ramp. Little removal light on this list too. Again, trying to test a lot of things. Whenever I'm trying to test stuff, I always end up going a little bit removal light just to try to get more cards in the deck, and, you know, then I get crushed in a game, and then I'm like, oh, gotta cut all these cards, put all the removal back in, and then it gets harder to test the new cards that you want to test. It's kind of how life goes. Opponent gets themselves a Phyrexian Vault. It seems like it could be interesting with the Rograkh. It's a little bit costly, in my opinion. You know, there's a little bit of mana tied up in doing that, because you do have to pay that commander tax, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes for them. Anyway, that brings it to our turn. We draw a Citadel Siege. I think this one will actually be pretty good with Rograkh. Just drop it in there and start putting power on Rograkh. And I'll talk about that issue a little bit more in a moment. Let's take our turn here. So let's play the Spine Rock Knoll. We get some cool stuff. Tenza, Godomall, Skyclave Apparition is removal. I think I'm going to go with the Skyclave because by the time we're actually able to activate this card, we're probably going to have to remove something. And with that, let's cast our commander because it's free! There's a lot of cool things to do, too, with having a free 0-mana commander. Paradise Mantle and Springleaf Drum both give you sources of fast mana that don't involve you having to spend Chrome Mox-type money or having to discard, like you would with Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond, and Gemstone Cavern. So there are cool things to be doing with Rograkh. I haven't even really gotten into any of the Cloudstone Curio-type combos yet. That is also a thing that you can be doing with it if you want. Kamlik has themselves a pretty crazy turn 2 Soul Ring into Arcane Signet. They're drawing all the cards, which is bad. Here comes the Soul Ring, just more stuff into the fish is not great. They will draw all the cards. Yep, and then another Soul Ring into Signet. Like, this isn't good. This isn't good. Probably should have just mulliganed to fast mana. Oh, the joys of playing on Magic Online. Tormod the Desecrator coming into play. Sweet. But yeah, we are what you call super far behind at this point. Is not great. Chaotic's going to send Rograkh over to the Jeleva and send the message. No damage gets done. Brings back to our turn. There's a Scavenger Ground. We probably could have used a Mana Rock more than anything, but we got to land. Play the Arid Mesa. Crack the Arid Mesa. Play Loyal Apprentice. Loyal Apprentice looks really good with Rograkh. Loyal Apprentice is really good on its own anyway, but even better when you just have, like, guaranteed early access to your commander. We'll do some poking here. I say we poke the Jeleva because they've been drawing cards like crazy. Get them for 3. Opponent pays for the fish. Yep. Leyline of the Void. Fun's over. Graveyards are off limits. Thought Vessel into the Remora. Yep. Let's take a look at what our opponents are playing today. First up, we have Kamlik piloting Jeleva Nephalia Scourge. Essentially, the Kalia for spells. When it enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of mana you spent to cast it. Whenever it attacks, you may cast one of those instants or sorcery spells without paying their mana cost. Yep, it can be pretty strong. You just load your deck up with a bunch of big spells, maybe catch something off your opponent's deck, and things get kind of wild. So you want to keep it from attacking. Next up, we have Maru Powell piloting Toggo Goblin Weaponsmith. and they're partnered with Keskit the Flesh Sculptor. So Toggo says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, make an equipment named Rock, which you can pay 1, tap the creature, and sacrifice the rock to do 2 damage to any target, and it's 1 to equip. Really good with Death Touch, and you can just ping things down. I've started messing with this one a little bit already. Don't know what order the videos are going to show up in, so you may have seen that video already. And Keskit, I don't even think I've seen yet. 3 mana, 1/3, tap it, sacrifice 3 other artifacts and or creatures, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 2 of them in your hand and the other in your graveyard. Kind of interesting, so they can use this to sacrifice the artifacts and essentially kind of loot through their deck and dump some things in the graveyard. I don't know. We'll see what they're up to. Maybe it's a little bit Reanimator, maybe they're more on the Death Touch thing. I don't know. Chaotic's doing some stuff over there. Sacrifices Rograkh to draw a card with the Phyrexian Vault and recast Rograkh. All things you can do when you have Mana Crypt early in the game. There's a Boros Signet that helps. That may keep us from like just losing the game based on like mana cost alone, so that's good. Let's go ahead and play the Boros Signet into the Mr. Cremora. Nothing we can do about it. Makes me sad. Get another Thopter. Yep, keep attacking Jeleva. Leave this one back. Has no power. Cumulative upkeep on the Remora. Do they let it go? They've got 9 cards in hand. Yeah, they finally let it go. 3 is costly. 3 is a spell. You know what I mean? That's at least one of the cards in their hand. Ew, no. Plays a Mystic Sanctuary. That card is miserable. And a Dreamborn Muse. Wonderful. Just what you hope to see. See if anyone wants to shoot that. Theoretically, Toggo could just play a rock and shoot it. Oh, it's a Persistent Petitioners deck. Nice. All right, so Jeleva Mill is what we're looking at. When does this happen? At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player mills X cards, where X is the number of cards in their hand. Oh, yeah, Leyline of the Void's in play, too. Makes it a lot worse. Yeah, I would hopefully Toggo wants to shoot that Dreamborn Muse, because honestly, I don't want to get rid of really any of the things in our hand, but Citadel Siege... You know, I've just been interested in getting that one going with Rograkh. Stonehewer Giant's also really good, too. Tomio's Journal for opponent. Help trying to get it out of their hand. Toggo into Jeleva. Yep. They can just block with this 1/3, though. Which they do. Our final opponent, by the way, is Chaotix 2075, piloting Rograkh, son of Rohgahh, who we are also playing, and Tormod the Desecrator, who says, whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 tapped black zombie creature token. That's interesting. I'm not sure what he's up to. Mana Vault and Dreamborn Muse trigger. Oh, opponent lost all the good stuff. Vandal Blast, Goblin Welder, Damnation, Anger, Yuri, and Chaos Warp. Yeah, those were good pieces of removal that, especially the Vandal Blast, would have been really good for slowing down opponents, but... Ooh, opponent kept a 1-lander over there. If we find our Austere Command and blow up artifacts, that'll take them out of the game. Actually. Chaotix gonna draw another card with Rograkh. Like, it's not bad, but it's a lot of mana to be doing that. Plays in Ashes of the Fallen, choosing Knight. Interesting. Did he lose his commander? Where's his commander? Gonna swing the Tormod into Jeleva. This is a really bad Sun Titan with this. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player mills X. Oh, right, it mills. It doesn't wheel. Okay. So at least we get to keep things in our hand. That's cool. Do we need a Scavenger Grounds? I don't know if we need a Scavenger Grounds. Yeah, let's play the Scavenger Grounds just in case. Just in case. What would we exile? Land, Deflecting Swat, Legion's Initiative, Bloodsworn Steward, Open the Armory. Yeah, those are cards. I guess we go for Stonehewer Giant? Yeah, Stonehewer Giant finds us value pieces. We could use some value, particularly ramp. We get a few more things to attack with. We'll send the ground creature to Morrow since they're tapped out, and the flyers over to Kamlik. Oh, getting back to an earlier point that I was going to talk about. So... I've looked through the card pool of things that you would probably want to run with Rograkh, at least in red and white. Haven't looked so deeply through the other colors. But one of the things that I noticed is, in red-white specifically, getting power on Rograkh is not the easiest thing, especially lots of power. I looked through all of the equipments and all of the auras that you might want to put on Rograkh. Honestly, the Sword of X and Y cycle are some of your best bets. Sunforger is going to be decent because of the 4 power, but it's really expensive, so I mean that's not a thing you're going to do early in the game necessarily. And it is actually just difficult to put a lot of power on a creature without spending a lot of mana or like having to give something else up, right? So like probably one of the best cards you can put on is a Blackblade Reforged, because that's going to give it a lot of power. It's not terribly expensive from a mana standpoint. Ew, it's a mind grind. But, you know, one of the things I noticed is that it's really tough to get it above 3 power with a single card that you would actually want to run in a game of Commander, right? Like, sure, you could go find some jank. Like, Barb Battle Gear, you wouldn't want to use because I think it gives it -1 toughness. And, I looked through that pool of cards, and most of the things you're looking at are going to put 2 or 3 power on it. And there weren't a lot of options that are going to get you more than 4 power. So I think that actually makes Citadel Siege really good because in 2 turns or in 2 combats, it's going to have a lot of extra power on it, which is a thing that you want. So yeah, I just thought it was interesting that at least in those 2 colors, there weren't a ton of ways to really just like load a ton of power onto Rograkh, especially in a mana efficient way. Opponent drops a Gear Report Ether Grid, a card that I always want to run and never do. And they're going to tap up all their artifacts to shoot that Dreamborn Muse. Love it. I love it. With Dreamborn Muse gone, I may let up a little bit on them. Mill decks take a lot of focus. Like, they take an unnecessary amount of focus relative to how powerful I think they are. Now, they've gotten some help recently, so they're a little bit better than they used to be. But in general, Mill is not the strongest strategy in Commander, but it does take a lot of hate when it shows up at the table. People don't like losing their stuff. Opponent casts Rograkh, and Memory Erosion's going to get them. Spark Reaper coming in. Can sacrifice a creature or a planeswalker. You gain 1 life and draw a card. We draw Mistveil Plains. Not helpful with a Leyline of the Void in play, but, maybe someday that'll be gone. What are we getting right here? Might be on, like, Dowsing Dagger. Try and flip a Dowsing Dagger. Oh, yeah, okay. So we can go Plains, cast Citadel Siege, then use Stonehero Giant, and we'll flip a Dowsing Dagger. I like getting the ramp going right here. Play the Plains. Play Citadel Siege. Memory Erosion's going to get us. Make sure we haven't milled anything we want. Champion's Helm down. Oh, Victory's Herald down. Was excited about that one. That was going to be really good with Akroma. Cons. We're going to go to combat. Citadel Siege will trigger. We'll put 2 counters on Rograkh. It now has power. We get another Thopter from our Loyal Apprentice. Saying that to Kamlik. We'll send a flyer their way. We'll send a couple flyers over here. Kind of start spreading things around a little bit. Oh, the Giant's got Vigilance, doesn't it? We'll send that over to Maru, and we'll keep that one back just so it doesn't die. We'll activate the Giant. Let's get Dowsing Dagger. We'll give Chaotix some creatures, since he seems to want to sacrifice all of them. We'll equip this to our commander. Chaotix gets 2 plants. And we flip over the Dowsing Dagger. Excellent. We get 3 extra mana. Nothing to do with it this turn, but, Akroma's a really cool card, and it's sitting in our command zone. And definitely liable to do some things. Opponent's down to 17. They've taken a bit of focus, as mill decks tend to do. Startled Awake. Target opponent mills 13 cards. Who got milled? I didn't see who got targeted. Haven't seen that card in a while. Target's Chaotix. Chaotix has some sort of graveyard thing on. He said his deck is boned, by the way, until the Leyline of the Void. Oh, and he scoops. Yep. That's what a Leyline of the Void will do. Well, this is going to be a quick game then. Opponent's going to investigate at the beginning of their upkeep. They have 2 clue tokens. That's a Vampiric Tutor for opponent. That's during their main phase, though. They're going to get milled too. If they can't draw that... Oh, right, they can crack a clue. They're going to draw a card. Oh, that's a Notion Thief. Opponent can tap some... Okay, they're just going to crack another clue in response. But they could also use the Gear Report Ether Grid to shoot the Notion Thief, which they very much should do. They get a landfall trigger, and they have a second rock, so now they can shoot the Notion Thief with that if they want to, which they're going to do because it's a Notion Thief. Not a card you want sticking around. That's a Blasphemous Act. We have all the creatures right now, so don't actually need that. Let's play a Plains. Check on our mana. We have 9 mana. That's exactly enough for a Akroma and a Sword. Yeah, I think that's what we're doing. This might be a really fast game. Memory Erosion will trigger. Yep. Go to combat. Akroma trigger, Loyal Apprentice trigger, Citadel Siege trigger. Akroma trigger on the bottom. Citadel Siege in the middle. Put that on Rograkh and Loyal Apprentice triggers. Let's go to combat. Send Rograkh into Kamlik. It is an 8/9. That's pretty serious. We could probably just take him out if we want. If we send everything that way. Guess that's what we're doing. How much is that? That's 8 plus 8 is 16. There, that's lethal. Can send the Giant that way. Activate the Giant. Get a Fire and Ice. Oh, we could have did the Fire and Ice in response to... There's no Fire and Ice in this deck. Huh. Well then. It's probably in exile. Is probably where it is. Let's get a Mask of Memory then, because we need to draw some cards. Put that on the Rograkh. Mask of Memory hit. We'll draw 2 cards. Discard a card. Ooh, those are both good. I guess we don't need a Blasphemous Act in this moment, so send that into exile. Opponent goes down. Maru left at 25. They will need a board wipe. They only have 1 clue currently. See what they got. Diabolic Intent. This is probably a board wipe. Yeah, Fire and Ice got exiled, so Fire and Ice not available. When we went a searching. Yeah, there's a Toxic Deluge for X6. Send everyone back to the command zone. Loyal Apprentice, Stone Hero Giant go to the graveyard. Graveyard's now active again because Leyline of the Void is gone. There's an Arch of Orizka. Play the land. Nothing with haste. Yeah, we don't seem to have any haste that I can find. Actually, Loyal Apprentice has haste. So let's get a Sun Titan. Get back our Loyal Apprentice. We have 5 mana left. Well, that's exactly enough for a Feast of Famine. I guess that's what we do. Oh, you know what, though? They can just shoot our Loyal Apprentice, which they probably will. Yep. Wants no part of that. That leaves us with 2 mana left. I guess we just put the sword on it and try and avoid the mono black removal. And Sun Titan gets 2/+1/+1 counters on it. Citadel Siege, if you leave it in play, it's pretty good. Opponent's just going to start shooting us in the face with the artifacts. Not a terrible idea. Nighthawk Scavenger. It's black, so we're not scared about it. We're still pro-black. Mearsire is an artifact, on the other hand. That's a little bit more tricky for us. When it dies, create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. You want what we can do? We can play an Elesh Norn. If we can go Elesh Norn, Duelist Heritage, that should finish it up for us. There's a Swords that also might help. Yeah, this should work. Opponent's gonna shoot our face. Yep. Kills the Mearsire. Mearsire dies to Elesh Norn. Play the Duelist Heritage. Citadel Siege trigger on the Sun Titan. Send in the Sun Titan. Sun Titan trigger, get back our Loyal Apprentice. Duelist Heritage trigger. Give it double strike. First hit. Lands on tap. Second hit. There it is. I can't believe that worked. Our opponents had so much more mana than us at the start. And luckily the mill deck just taking all the focus and kind of disrupting people in weird ways. Because like opponent milled all the removal that, you know, would have stopped us. Damnation, Vandal Blast, sent it into exile. All that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it worked. Of the things we saw, Loyal Apprentice, very good with Rograkh, and Citadel Siege in general is a card that I think it's undervalued a bit. I don't want to say you should run it everywhere, but in a deck, in a Boros deck where you're probably going to take some extra combats, you can make your things big very quickly. The only thing it's not great for is if you get into that situation where you can't keep creatures in play, which has been happening in some of the other games I've been playing, but Citadel Siege is one that I used to use a lot back in the day, and I'm starting to circle back around toward it, because it just does a lot. And if you feel like the +1/+1 counters mode isn't great, then you go for the Dragons mode, and you can tap a creature an opponent controls at the beginning of their combat, which is really good against like Voltron decks that aren't hexproof. So pretty cool stuff. I wish we got to see a little bit more of our Rograkh type stuff, so I might try to run this one back. We'll see. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.
I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below.